Okay, we're all here. It's 3 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. I don't have the, tell me, it's exactly 3 o'clock. Okay. Thank you all for attending. New member introductions. Mr. Curry, you want to take care of that for us?
Yeah, we want to say thank you for everybody being here. It's been a few months now since we last met, and we appreciate this committee very much. But yes, we'd like to Mr. Fawcett, if you have a moment to kind of introduce yourself as the new member, and we'd appreciate that.
Sure. Dustin Fawcett. Currently, I run a clinic for a medical center hospital. I recently won the Republican primary for county judge, and will take office after the November election come January 2023. And I am excited to be on this committee. I'm excited to be informed. There you go.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Marker wasn't able to make it, but again, the city, and I know Michael can say it better than I can, but definitely we greatly appreciate all the work that this committee does. It really does a great service for us in trying to help us keep the community growing.
Okay, good. Thank you. Dustin, glad to have you here, and I especially look forward, hopefully, the relationship and the interaction between the city and the county will go a long ways.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff. Next, we have the minutes from our last meeting. You have those, and they were sent out to us. Were there any additions or corrections?
I didn't see any.
I'll take that as a motion to
Yeah,
approve.
I make a motion.
I'll second with one correction.
Okay.
My initial is B, not D.
Well, my last name doesn't have that H in there.
All right, we'll take care of getting, wait, where's, I don't see.
Well, it's on everything else.
Number 3, mine's wrong, John. That's no
It's
big
gotta
deal.
be a B instead of a D.
Mm-hmm.
B is in boy.
So I'll make a motion to accept the minutes with the correction of Mr. Coates.
Okay, and
Second.
Dr. Goetz seconded. Any other discussion items? All in favor, aye? Okay, minutes are approved. Okay, this is really want to get to the meat of what's been going on, so I guess Vanessa will turn it over to you.
Yes. So as Tom mentioned, it's been a while since we've discussed all
You have
things.
to look behind us to see.
No, you're supposed to look at the screen.
No, I don't see you. You're way prettier in the screen.
I think we need to put the chairs on that side.
Yeah.
It has been a while since we've discussed impact fees. And so we wanted to give you gentlemen an overview and a quick review of the impact fee program that this committee helped us implement. Where are we? Go ahead and since they're making me come to the front.
Anything I can do to give you trouble.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So as you recall, our initial meetings with Kimley Horn and city staff dealt with land use assumptions and the projected growth over the city over the next 10 years. And so in reviewing that, we were able to identify service areas for both roadway and utility impact fees. For roadway, since we're statutorily required and limited to 6-mile length, we had to split the city up into 3 different roadways, service areas. So service area 1, which is on the far left, is covers everything north of University and to the west of Loop 338. Service area 2 covers everything south of University and west of Loop 338, and then service area 3 covers everything east of Loop 338. And you'll notice that on top of each respective service area graphic, there's a dollar figure, and those dollar figures correspond to the impact fee CIP projects that we identified within each respective service area. And so if we take all of those projects and those figures and total them, they come out to a total projected construction cost of $215.5 million to construct all of those CIP projects that we identified to sustain the growth in the city over the next 10 years. So similarly, we did the same thing with water and wastewater, water being the graphic in blue. You'll notice that for both water and wastewater, we only have 1 service area. We aren't limited to a length requirement, and it does allow us to exceed our city limits, so that it does go beyond and into the ETJ. Again, you'll see the impact fee projects that we identified within each service area in the red with the respective dollar amounts above and below. So for water, it's at 55.4 million, and for wastewater, it's approximately $89 million. These are the impact fees that were recommended by the committee and then adopted by council. So service area 1 and 3 for residential was at $3,000. Service area 2 was $2,000. For non-residential, service areas 1 and 3 was 90% of Midland service area A, and service area 2 was 50% of our max accessible impact fee. And we did carve out a reduced rate of $1,000 for any properties that were in CDBG. And these were collective rates among all three: water, wastewater, and roadway impact fees. So what that translates into, as far as figures for per service unit, you'll see on this table here, and this table is integrated in our ordinance. And so we have on the far left column, is the maximum accessible impact fee that the city is allowed to collect by state law, and then our collection rate for residential, CDBG, and non-residential. And so as we go through and assess any building permit applications that come in, we'll pull those numbers and then assess them based on the applicable service units, and they should give us those figures that were on the previous slide. And I think Joe will go over in a bit how we go through assessing those impact fees as they come in. A couple of specific provisions that we did want to highlight. Assessment is the determination of the amount of impact fee that's imposed on a new development based on the land use type and the specific service units applicable to the land use type. Collection is the amount of the impact fee that is due and payable at the time of the issuance of the building permit or water meter. And then offsets are the amount of reduction that recognizing a developer's actual cost of construction, distribution, or dedication of improvements that are identified on our CIP impact fee lists. So a couple of things with offsets. When a developer is eligible for an offset, those offsets only apply to the impact fee type of the development or the improvement that they are putting in. So if they build a roadway, any offset that is eligible based on that roadway construction is only applied to the roadway impact fee. The developer would still have to pay water and wastewater impact fees that are due on that development. And as far as how they're applied when the first building permit is issued on that plat, and then subsequently until either the offsets are completely exhausted or all of the building permits for that plat are issued, whichever occurs first. Impact fees became effective September 9th, 2021, and council did approve a 1-year grace period for both residential and non-residential for plats that were approved prior to the effective date and came in to pull a building permit or water meter within 1 year of the effective date. So we currently are still within that grace period. Do you have any questions?
This is so much easier than all that stuff we went through.
I know. Sum it all up for you.
The only one would have been
Right,
like this.
Billy?
On the city council mayor side, does anybody have any concerns or anything about this program or what we're doing?
The only thing that we have had thus far, and Michael, if you want to chime in, is we did have one appeal that came before city council. However, council, I believe they denied the appeal.
That is correct.
And if you recall,
So they felt that they didn't pertain to the impact fee, or?
So I believe that their appeal was based on, I think they wanted either a waiver or an additional reduction of the impact fee. But if you recall, our ordinance does say that the appeal has to be either because the amount is incorrect or impact fees do not apply to them either because they're doing offset or they're within a
Was
waiver.
It was a small project,
Was
wasn't
it commercial or residential?
it? Commercial. It was a small project.
Mike, I know you've got some specific example. Let's go through the next
Right,
couple of things, then we can talk about those. Would that be
yeah,
appropriate?
that's good.
Okay. Yeah, the impact fee, the report, so,
Yes, so you guys all got a emailed copy of the draft semi-annual report. The first couple of pages of that we went over in the previous presentation, which is the land use assumptions and the service areas, and a little bit more in detail of the actual CIP projects that are found in there, or identified in each of our service area. And so now I will turn it over to Joe and Farah, and they can go over how we're assessing impact fees as they come through, and Farah will review the collected revenues that we have thus far.
Okay, what you're seeing here is a sample worksheet that came in. This is for a residential lot up in Homestead.
Hey, Joe, can I get you to go to the front?
Sure. Excuse me. This is a typical example, 194 lots in this case. It split out, basically it ends up being about 1,800 of roadway impact per lot, 389 of water, 831 of sewer, and it comes, that totals out to that $3,000 number you saw earlier for a residential lot. So we're looking at the $3,000 per lot residential.
Joe, that would be regardless of the size of the residential lot.
It's
correct?
not based on size, yes. The only thing that does change on these, some of them come in wanting a 1-inch meter, and that does bump up the water and sewer a little bit.
That's what has more impact, right, the size of
Yes.
the 3/4.
So on this one, 194 units, lots, whatever, comes out to 500 and what was it?
It was
580.
582 for the entire 200 lot subdivision.
582,000?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a comma, so.
John, what size lots are those, do you know?
Throw me off.
they're 50 by 110s. They're,
Townhouse lots or?
No,
They're
no.
bigger than townhouse.
no,
lots.
yeah, they're single family,
They're single family.
single family, it's their,
Is that the express, their
Yeah.
express model?
We've had some come in also on private developments that were large lots, and basically they're the same price, so it's not based on lot size.
When you go to roadway fees, it's based on a usage factor type design. So commercial has more usage than a residence would, you know? And so those roadway fees are based on the type of property and use for it.
how do you, I know we've set it at $3,000 or 2,000 or 1,000.
Yes.
But how do you spread it between water, sewer, and roadway?
It was broke out by the consultant. He
Okay.
factored
They factored it in, backed
a
it in that way?
percentage, yes.
Okay,
He broke it out as percentage of each to where it'd come out at that total.
okay.
And roadway is always gonna be larger.
Yes.
And if you recall, roadway, the maximum assessable fee for roadway was the highest, so that's where we reduced as much as we could to make the 3,000 and 2,000 come out.
Okay, so every lot, 3/4 inch meter in that part of town is $831 and a penny is gonna go towards wastewater
Yes.
improvements. Okay,
That's right.
all right.
And as you were mentioning, larger for streets, and when you look at the capital improvements that we identified, the highest amount of dollars was in
Streets.
and so these numbers actually come from that. Now, there's a maximum fee, but then we elected to make some adjustments to.
Right.
Okay. Help me remember, so, say D.R. Horton, how do they get an offset for what they've done? I know they're the builder taking down the permits, they get an offset. What do we do for other developers that are developing and they're not the builder?
So when you look at the capital improvements that we identified, say it's Yukon Road or
Dawn?
Dawn.
Sorry.
If they do the, if they pay for those roadwork improvements, whatever is identified in the capital improvements, if they make contributions to that infrastructure, that amount of dollars is eligible to be offset against the fees, so,
Okay, but how does the developer get that money?
Vanessa, you wanna?
So, and the way that we've talked about it with our consultant and what other cities have done is we have a credit or offset agreement with the developer where the offset stays with the land itself. And so the developer would then get his offset with whoever.
It's a pass-through.
It's a pass-through, yes, for that.
Passes from the big boy to the next guy.
So whenever the builder comes in to pull, assuming that he would have already bought that lot from the developer, the developer would pass that cost along to whoever he sold it to, letting him know, well, I've already took care of those impact fees, you won't have to pay them. So he recoups from whoever he sells. And that would be, we're assuming that
Do
would
you
be
have a
separate-
draft agreement with that, or what that
We have
agreement
a
looks
couple of
like?
drafts from other cities that we've pulled to see, since we haven't had our first one and we're kind of working on a draft for us.
Okay.
But we have pulled from, I've pulled from 3 or 4 different cities that we're looking to.
And Midland
to bring one
definitely
together.
has.
I'd like to see that.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I'm struggling with.
You're
the
getting
fact-
caught in the middle at closing.
Like, you can't, I mean, it's daggers. And I guess what I'm struggling with is that in a lot of situations, these contracts are pre-negotiated. Development's done, lot prices are set. Then all of a sudden, there's these credits that the developers should be, in a sense, entitled to in some way. And the builder's getting those credits as an offset, so it's not, I don't see where it's passing through, I guess.
So
is
I
my-
guess we would anticipate that any offset would be, the developer would be eligible for the offset and he would know what those offsets are prior to him engaging or selling the land to the builder. Because we would need to know and enter into that agreement with the developer so that he knows how much of cost he's putting into for the improvements that he's building.
Shouldn't
Well-
that come off the price?
Prices are already set.
Yeah, see, that's what,
That's what I'm
that's what's
struggling with.
happening is D.R. Horton, for example, is developing lots at, Parks Bell and Desert Ridge. They pay everything, they do everything, they just buying raw dirt. But they're also buying lots from Larry Lee that are developed, that are already processed in Desert Ridge and Yukon Ridge. So that's where, and they're buying them for a fixed amount, right, Mike?
Yeah, I
They
mean,
signed a contract.
The contract's even prior to the plats being recorded.
Right. Which is the impetus for the developer to develop the lots, is because they have a contract. Hey, I need 100 lots. And Larry says, no problem, I'll get 100 lots done as soon as we can. And they're at, just make up a number, $10,000.
Right.
And so that contract's done, then a year later, it takes us a year to design it, build it. A year later, he comes in, pays Mr. Lee $10,000 for the lot at a prearranged closing, right, Mike?
Yes, sir.
1, 2, or 10, or 100, whatever, however they take it down. And then you assess the impact fee on D.R. Horton when he comes in to get his building permit.
When there's no offset available to the developer.
Right, and then, so how does that get
So that's-
back to Larry, who did it in the beginning? Who put up the money?
I mean, if you got if your developer and your builder are one and the same, I mean, I can understand that. And this was discussed in our original committee meetings at one time, I know. But when you have a developer that's not your builder, I never really understood how those offsets were going to go back to that developer. And I mean, it's critical for our community that we have these developers right now, we all know that. And I think it's critical that I'm able to sit down and talk to him and explain it to him, or somebody from here can, maybe Michael or somebody can talk to him, I don't know. I mean, we all know Larry.
Right.
And,
And of course, he's not gonna be the only one, John Burnett.
There's gonna be others,
There'll be
there's
others.
numerous ones right now.
Numerous developers.
I think, so if I'm understanding right, some of it has to do with agreements that may have been secured prior to
They all are.
implementation.
And
So-
it's so much easier for a developer that is going to be selling lots and not building on them to have these lots already under contract or proposed lots under agreements to go into a bank and say, hey, look, here you go, I'm secure. It's kind of like having a building leased. Well, those numbers are pretty much fixed at that point in time, or were fixed. I mean, some of these contracts have been in the works prior to this even thinking about coming around. And so, you know, I'm just kind of saying, where's that money? How does it ever flow around accordingly? It just seems like it's said to be here, but how does it get to there?
So Mike, I think that our ideal situation would be where we would have an offset for a developer before he enters into a contract. But I think in a situation that you're talking to, the city would have to get creative and perhaps come up with an agreement where we would collect the impact fees and then reimburse the developer on a quarterly basis for any impact fees that the builder
Okay.
comes in and pays on his development that he's already
So
sold.
could that, and that can be something
And that
that
can be something
possibly
that-
could be done?
Yeah, we
Okay.
can, yeah.
That sounds like
That
maybe
sounds
that's,
like I mean, that's
Ideal.
something that
Now,
would be looked
obviously,
at.
that
I'm
wouldn't
sure
be
is
the norm
positive.
for us. It would be in a situation where the lots have already been previously sold and the credits came after the fact.
Well, that's gonna
Um,
be part of the punishment that we do going through the first few years
Yeah.
that we talked about.
Right.
And so
Right.
we're gonna have to think outside the box.
Yeah, we got to some way.
Is this something that has to go back to the city council to vote on?
No, the offsets are already incorporated
Okay.
into the ordinance as
Ordinance,
is.
right.
So all we have to do is just administratively find a way to be able to make those
This is
work
all
for.
administration,
There you go.
yeah. So I
so,
guess,
so in the case of the Lico properties and the lots, then the builder, whether it's Silverleaf or Horton or whoever it is, pays the impact fee, and then we'll find a mechanism so the city would pay that back to Lico's credit.
Yeah, if
for
that's,
theirs.
if that's the only way for us to be able to have the developer recoup the offsets that he's due.
Offset that he's due.
Right.
Yeah.
If there are offsets,
Right.
not
Yeah,
every.
and not
project.
every-
Not all of them.
there's
I
only
know,
gonna be,
I know,
there's only
but-
gonna be a few.
Right.
Not all
And it may not be
projects have
dollar for dollar
Yes.
offset, we understand that.
Yeah.
Right.
Is there gonna be more or less?
The only time you'll have offsets is if you're developing one of the roads or water or sewer
major roads.
identified in the capital improvements plan.
Right.
Say
Makes
Dawn
sense.
or something like that.
Yes. If
Yeah.
you're building
61st
lots
or-
on 52nd Street, there are.
Yeah, but like Dawn or 61st or
Yeah.
things like that that are coming up, correct, okay.
Vanessa, to your possible solution, I think that's the one that works, because I think we want to be able to recognize the contribution that the developer has made, and make sure, particularly if it's a developer that's gonna continue to develop here anyway, right? So the only thing that we would have to watch out for internally is to make sure that, Mike, in particular, if it's not anything that's not been platted yet, that moving forward, that we don't double credit, if you will, the developer, just have a mechanism in place for that.
Right.
And there
That should
wouldn't-
be simple.
And there wouldn't be.
You got Cindy, she can do it.
I don't think on much of that there would be.
Yeah, because
It's going down in phases and, yeah, I don't think that would be a double, that I can think of anything.
It'll just be a pain for a while.
Similar to.
It's just gonna be,
Yeah.
you know, kinda
It'll take some accounting on our
probably
end to make sure
talking
that
with
we
the, it's
keep
showing
those.
deeds and things
Right.
like that and dates of plats and,
Mhm.
so, yeah, I can help on that and John can.
it'd almost be kind of like a pro rata
Exactly.
deal.
Kinda like what we used to do, what we used to do
With a pro rata.
back
It's a-
in the day
it's
when we did the
exactly
pro
what-
rata.
It's exactly what it is.
So when
Yeah.
the developers making the improvements, say they're making improvements to a roadway that's part of the impact study,
Right.
that he will have a plat that's associated, or a plat area that's associated with those improvements. And so those lots, when they're platted, will be assigned that they are credit, offsettable, I guess, to the land developer at the time.
That's right.
Right.
And you may owe him $1,200 out of the 3,000
Right.
for the road.
It depends,
Yeah,
yeah.
you know,
on-
Whatever it
Yeah.
is, and
Right.
we'll know that the day the plat's filed and the road's built.
I think-
and-
Call that offset worthy.
And
Yeah.
I think now, Vanessa, was there something in the law that says you have to credit it out? Do you prorate it over all the lots? Say there's 100 lots to that, or do you credit out the full roadway fee to the first lot and then credit? It still goes back to the developer under what we're talking about. But
It's offset on the full amount for the first permit
Yeah.
application and then exhausted thereafter on each
So,
permit until they're
the
done.
land developer like Larry Lee, he would start getting his faster. He wouldn't just get 1,200 off the first one, he might get a 3,000 until he ran out of credit money, so.
Gotcha.
Okay,
Okay.
would it be smarter for the, I don't know, for the city?
Okay.
Would it
That
be
makes
smarter to
sense.
keep that credit on the books and apply it to future developments that he's doing? Or does
So
it?
it depends, if it's a multi-phase development that's all in the same area, then you
Right.
can phase that across those developments. But it's still, the way that the ordinance is written is that it applies at the first permit to cover the full cost of whatever the impact fee is due for that respective
Right.
type. And then it goes unto each one until it's exhausted. But it can be spread out, for example, if you have a multi-phase development between those phases that are within that
Well,
development.
say as you're developing along Dawn, or developing along 61st Street. I mean, he's gonna get credits for part of the development that hits 61st. He's gonna move into the next phase. What I'm asking, would it be more, and somebody may need to discuss this with the developer, but would it be more beneficial for him to have the credits put on the books that could be applied for, you know, some of his future development? John, you know, or is it better for him to just get the money? Does he have to be applied for the future part of 61st? Well, unless it becomes taxable, Jimmy.
I know, that's what I want, that's what I meant.
You know, that's what I don't know.
In 1 year to the next year, it's
Yeah.
different.
If the developer so chooses to want to spread that out across his multi-phase development, then we can write that into an agreement with him. Otherwise, it's just the standard where it gets exhausted as the permits
Okay.
come in.
Would it be
I
at
think
the
one-
developer's discretion?
It would, because
Yeah,
the
it
way
would
that
be
the
their
ordinance is
agreement.
written is
Okay.
it's exhausted as the permits come in unless there's an agreement that states otherwise, and that would be at the discretion if that's
Gotcha.
what the developer
That's
wants.
good. That answers it. That's good.
Just thinking about it though, one of the things is that you're assigning the impact fees to the platted lots.
Understand.
And so if they're not being platted and you don't know what those lot breakdowns are, we just need to look into that, but I'm not sure how you could assign offsets to something that's not being platted. Does that make sense?
Well, but I mean, right. But in most cases, the first plat's recorded, the offsets are gonna come in at the same time the second plat's in the process of already probably being recorded, so they can move to phase two. Isn't that kinda how we've done it, John?
Yeah, we've done the phases, but I understand what Tom's saying, and I think it's gonna work out.
Okay.
Because typically, you've got enough lots.
Right.
To spread it out, whatever, I mean, you're not gonna spend $10 million for 12 lots, capital improvements, so you're gonna have your capital proportionate to the number of lots that you're gonna typically.
And so, and the same thing is gonna be true, say we're platting an area that's 50-foot lots, then all of a sudden they wanna replat it to 25-foot townhome lots. So that means that we're now gonna get twice the amount of lots. So that means we're gonna get twice the amount of impact fees, is that correct?
No.
No.
It's just gonna be on the water tap side.
Well, okay.
It will be because of the water line, won't it?
We're gonna be getting the water taps, are we gonna change anything as far as the
The
roads?
water taps will be entirely based on the meter, so if you need a 3/4 inch meter for your lot,
Right.
you're making a 3/4 inch meter impact to the infrastructure.
So you're gonna go from a 50-foot lot to two 25s?
Yeah, then you
So you're gonna have two 3/4 inch meters, so you're gonna have two
potentially twice as much,
impact.
yes.
Okay.
And
If
so
it's
the
still
same,
one structure, that won't change.
Well, it would be townhomes instead of single family. I'm just hypothetically
Yeah,
thinking
no,
this
I
out.
think you would, because you're doubling the impact on the community
Yeah.
with
Correct.
twice as many people,
Correct.
twice as many
Twice as many
cars.
cars.
But that's a
etc.
question that's coming up on another deal that I'm working on.
So
It
the-
would increase.
So the same though, when you're talking about replatting at any time, if a building permit has not already been pulled there, it will have to be reevaluated based on whether you're changing the conditions. Is it now being commercial or is it still, and I'm just throwing, you know, or is it still residential or is it still the same type of use? And those types of things could make that fee be changed.
Correct.
So.
Right. And I know you've got one of those you wanna talk about here in a minute.
Commercial one, I do.
Yeah, but,
Joe, do you have a commercial?
I believe we did, yes.
yeah, we wanna see that.
Pull up
I apologize, guys, I get
There's
to catch a few bullets every once in a while.
We're catching them
They're
too,
good.
Mike.
Huh?
We're catching them too.
I understand, and, you know,
You're at the shooting gallery.
This is a commercial example, what it's actually a convenience store. And convenience stores are calculated a little differently, it's based on fueling stations.
gotcha.
This is a combination building, they're building a convenience store and a shell next to it, so we calculated that 12 fueling stations plus the shell at 6,600 square feet. So it's a different rate for the shell as it is for the gas station, so we calculated it separately.
Did they have two separate water meters?
They will,
This one did, yes.
yeah, they will on that.
That's a
one.
lot of water for a convenience store. That's more like a truck stop, ain't it?
They show a 2-inch meter. Now, if they come back in and say, no, we're only putting a 1-inch, then we'll recalculate it for them.
That's a lot of water.
It's probably got a
Car wash
car
or
wash.
something?
Yeah, it
Oh,
may
yeah.
have.
Most of them do now.
But it came out total with the water and sewer impact to a little over $107,000.
And these worksheets are on our website,
Yes.
so.
The blank is anybody, and I get a lot of calls, I refer them to the website, or if they want me to work one through them, I do that. But,
And it'll auto-calculate, it's not just a piece of paper that you see and do, I mean, it'll
No.
auto-calculate.
Yeah, it autofill.
really, the only entries are these, we put in the taps. Taps, the size, if it's a commercial retail store, it's based on square footage, so we just go to the plans, put in the size of the building, and if we know what size taps, we can put that in.
I'm getting a
Can
little
we
bit of
calculate
question.
one, can we calculate one just for fun?
Yeah,
Just out of curiosity?
yeah, we've got the worksheet we can pull up.
And Joe, the type of business really is where you see where you see the variances and what the impact is.
Does that have much to do with it?
It has a
Yes.
big
It has,
impact.
yeah, quite a
Okay,
bit to
that's
do with it.
that's great, I wanna ask some questions.
And that's on roadway only though, really, I mean.
I understand.
Meter size is just meter size.
Right.
Gotcha.
But yeah, this is a blank worksheet. If you got something you wanna look at, we'll plug it in.
Well, there's a new restaurant on 42nd Street.
So we can go to restaurants.
Is it good? Oh.
Hadn't opened yet.
Opens
but-
next week.
Opens pretty soon, but you know, I
I'm gonna
just,
step back here if you don't mind.
Little chicken ass.
yeah.
I know which one it is.
4 days of opening ceremony.
There you go.
Has drive-through.
Got a drive-through,
At West.
with drive-through, okay.
Raising King.
How many square feet?
How big is it, Mike? Do you have an idea?
Well, I don't.
I
John,
would
do
say
you-
about 25 to 3,000 square feet.
Is that big?
I bet it's at least that big.
You
I
think
bet it's
so?
4.
Well, it's got a patio on it too,
Yeah.
so probably 3,000. Put 3,000.
It's supposed to be their biggest one they've ever built.
Really? Yeah.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard, I didn't hear
So
that.
there's 3,000 foot. They're probably gonna need a little bigger than 1/3.
Yeah, at least a 1 inch probably.
So we'll
So the-
change that to
oh, I see.
1 inch.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be a single family. So I left it service area 3. We've got fast food with drive-through. Let's see,
Is it service
Is it
area
service
3 or
area
is it 2? Or 1, I mean?
which part, it's in the north part?
Yeah, it's on the north
It's in
side.
one.
It's probably
Yeah, it's one.
one.
It's
So
in
we're
one.
looking at one.
In one.
Well, 1 and 3 are the
It's the
same.
same,
Yeah,
weren't they?
it shouldn't change
Yeah.
the number.
Well, no, the
Tom
traffic
needs
will a
to
little
do
bit.
what I haven't really calculated.
Okay. The only other thing I need change is the sewer. So in this case, we're looking at $80,000.
We need to change the single family to no.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Let me change that.
Doesn't change the calculation.
That doesn't change the calculation.
That's just
I don't
semantics.
think.
Yeah, a
Oh,
little
it
Well, it
did?
did.
Wow.
slightly it does.
Did,
Huh.
over $1,000.
Joe, try another type of business.
Okay?
Well, Joe, will you switch that from one that, as I know we put a drive-through, switch it to a fast food restaurant without a drive-through, just so they can see the difference?
Yeah.
'Cause Mike, what happens is we have a difference in the service units that apply to the development, and so
Right.
it'll show you what.
Yeah, because it's gonna affect it.
Yeah.
Amount of traffic.
Here's fast food without drive-through.
Probably down 3,000, okay, yeah.
It changes it a little bit. We went from
What if we did,
81 to
$10,000.
72.
what if we did 1 and 3? Or, yeah, and 3 that's not a food business, just out of
Okay.
curiosity.
We
Like a
can
retail
go-
store or something, Joe?
We can
Mixed
go
martial
to
arts or
just
something?
a resident store.
Dream mall.
So a 3,000 foot.
There you go, that's fine.
That's
Isn't
a-
that building about 5,000, Mike, the one you're talking about?
The existing is, the new one's not gonna
Oh,
be that big.
okay,
30.
all right.
So a 3,000 foot store is significantly less.
Right,
We're down to 30,000.
okay.
So restaurants are higher
Section
rate
3.
than
Yep, outside the
store,
loop.
than retail.
And so on the petition that came in for a waiver, I guess you'd say, the building they had was not completely being developed, I guess, or, anyway, part of, in the end, part of the building was going to be used, say, as a medical, and then the other part of the square footage was general commercial? or
What they
general-
were doing is they're
general
building a 6,000 foot building. They came in, told me they were putting in a medical office. So I calculated it, 6,000 foot medical office. They came back and said, no, we're really only cutting out 1,500 foot of medical and building a 4,500 shell. So I recalculated it with the combined use, and it reduced it significantly. They still appealed, but
Yeah, so if they come in for a building permit on the other portion, and it changes to some other type of function.
That was gonna be my, if they build a shell, you pay a
Once
fee
they-
that you calculate.
But
Then
once-
6 months later, he leases it to a donut shop with a drive-in window, then
Yes,
when he brings the
recalculate it.
the internal building permit, you recalculate it, and he pays for a donut shop with a drive-through window.
that's exactly right.
So
When
there's
they-
no way to do a loophole.
So what about the guys on Loop 338 that are building?
I mean, 'cause that's what's gonna happen, right?
It's not
Yes,
finished out.
exactly.
It's gonna
Exactly
be a
what's gonna
shell.
happen.
So how will, as a tenant comes in, how will their impact fee be, will it be amended or changed
It
or?
will be. Once we know the build-out use, we'll recalculate it. Right now, if it's a shell, we can calculate it either as general retail or general office, which we kind of judge based on where it is. And then once we have a build-out plan, we recalculate it on actual use. If it goes up, they will owe additional impact fees.
But that particular building, or retail center, should have fallen in to where, shouldn't have had an impact fee at all, I don't think.
So
Which
they're-
one's that?
It's within the 1 year from the plating.
Correct.
Plating was before September
Okay.
9th. And so there would be, when we talked about the word assessed, there would be an impact fee assessed, but it's waived.
It's not collected at the
It's
time
not
that
collected.
if they pull their building permit now. However, if they pull the building permit after the grace period,
Right.
and then they would have to pay the impact fees. We would be collecting those impact fees that were assessed.
So if it's another year before they come in, and I'm kind of cloudy on this myself, but they come in about another year and they go in and they decide they're gonna put a medical office in there. that gets reassessed as, that square footage of that portion gets reassessed as a medical facility, but they would be credited whatever, if they had paid definitely, and then if, say it was 1,000 before, and now it's gonna be 3,000, they're only due 2,000. They get credited what they were.
I don't believe so, because
It's
they
not
didn't
the
pay
difference.
that 1,000.
Okay.
Depends on if they paid it or
have.
not.
If they
Right.
had,
Okay, so if the, okay, say it's a medical center now and they change it another 2 years and need it to be a drive-through donut store, is it gonna get another impact fee?
if the drive-through donut store changes the service units, once we do the calculation, then they would just pay whatever the difference is.
Difference
If
is,
the
okay.
service units remain the same, then they would
Okay.
not.
What if it went down?
Ooh, quick
Then it goes
question.
down.
Yeah, what if?
No,
We-
no refund.
We don't mention that to them.
Cindy says no refund.
That's what I thought I was gonna hear. That's
Should have
exactly what I
decided that
thought.
up front.
I think this helps.
That helps me, I
You
mean,
got, everybody kinda got a pick.
yeah, I got it.
I would like to ask to do one thing different, I mean, not different, just in addition, and you can just email it to us. Take the same building, the same use here and one in Midland and do it on their, because they got the exact
Yeah,
same kind of
we can
deal.
pull up their
And
spreadsheet.
just see if we're underneath like we all
Like we thought
intended
we
to
were
be.
gonna be.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
I'd
I'd like
appreciate
to
that.
see that also, because
It'll make a difference.
We've had a couple.
Especially make a difference.
Mike and I have had a
I'm gonna
couple
just
people.
tell you that what I'm hearing
I'm
is that
sorry.
unfortunately, everybody says, well, I can do it cheaper in Midland.
Right.
And that's not what we're here for.
No.
I mean,
No.
and that was never our goal, and I've had different people tell me that.
I'll mention also, we had one come in the CDBG area. That was Prosperity Bank downtown.
Right.
Right north of the
Yeah.
conference center is in CDBG area, CDBG, and I calculated it both ways. It saved them about $100,000.
Between Midland and Odessa?
No, that's,
Just by
if
being-
they,
No,
if
just
they
by being
had
in the
been
CDBG
outside of
area.
Oh,
The
CDBG.
CDBG area.
Yeah, so that's the only one we've.
Were
seen.
they, now that was already platted, correct, or not?
Yeah,
They're
and
replatting.
Oh, that's right, it
It's
was
a
replatted. Okay.
So Mike, you're being told that our fees are higher in Odessa than they are in Midland?
Well, and that's why I wanna see it, Michael, because I'm being told that I can go to Midland and do this cheaper than I can do it in Odessa.
We'll
And
definitely show you.
so I would really like to say, prove it.
Question, Joe, does Midland have their calculator online?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's commercial, it's all commercial stuff. The housing stuff, you know,
Yeah.
I think we kinda all know where we are on that, but some of the commercial stuff is
Yeah. it-
where people are throwing it back and saying, wait a minute here.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's people we need that are looking to develop on Fodry and things like that.
Yeah.
And they don't have credits, so that doesn't get in the way, does it?
No, they don't, but I mean, it's,
Midland, I would expect has credits.
Midland have, do they have credit?
No, I'm
No,
saying,
No, you're talking about on develop, no,
That,
these people don't.
yeah.
yeah, that would be the only thing is if we don't know if the developer got some credits. you
And
know,
that's what I'm
they're
saying.
seeing.
Midland has credits
Well,
that they,
Now, I'm not.
they
again,
declared,
I don't know
what,
that.
3 years
But our
worth?
calculations are supposed to be
Yeah.
less
3
than
years
theirs
worth of
on
credits or
a
something like
case-to-case basis. Everything was built to be.
I know, and
And
that's
I
why
just-
I
I'd like
wanna
to
be able
see
to
that.
say,
Yeah.
here you go,
Look at both
here's
of
this
them.
one and here's this one, and
Yeah.
you prove it to me, because
Because
that's
it's
what
all-
I'm hearing, you know, everybody likes to say that stuff.
Because if it's off, it's toast, I might.
Cheaper Midland, no, it's not.
Well, I just think if we've got a hard evidence, and no, look, here's Odessa, here's Midland, we're saving that 20%, which is what our intent
we
was.
worked hard to get that into.
Right.
Exactly.
And then, again, those will be just based on nothing about the offsets, because it all
No,
depends on what
no,
they did,
just-
specific ones.
Yeah, just a pure deal.
No, makes sense.
All right, good. Anybody have any?
No, this is very good.
It's been
for me.
helpful.
Very helpful.
Very much so.
And so now we'll have Farrah go ahead and review with you guys, which is also part of the semi-annual report, the revenue that we collected thus far.
Please.
here right now.
Come on, Farrah, it's your turn.
It's the impact fee overview that y'all also received in y'all's packets that were sent out. So for 2021, building permits assessed were 363 total, and of those, 5 building permits were issued with impact fees. In 2022, 238 building permits were assessed, and of those, 53 were issued with impact fees. And then that last table will show you the impact fees collected, and it's broken down by residential, non-residential, and then roadway service area 1, 2, and 3, and the water and wastewater.
So since day one to now,
This is
that's,
as of March 14th, but yes, last week.
Yeah, 670.
671,000.
it's just 58 impact fees.
Building permits with impact fees, yes, sir.
And as a reminder, what was the total cost of impact fee improvements?
So as it relates to
Over
what-
200 million.
Over 220 million.
Right, so,
Yeah.
We had made these.
Yeah, that was the.
Over a period of time.
yeah. So I mean, looking at it in
20
perspective,
years.
based on the total projected cost of our CIP projects, what we've collected thus far for roadway is really only, we've collected 0.258% of what we need for the total cost thus far,
0.25.
yes.
For the total cost.
Of the total
Yeah.
cost, yes. For water, it's 0.073%, and then for wastewater, it's 0.085%.
You can get better money on the CD rate than
The,
that.
the SIP's a 10-year plan, right?
I'm sorry?
10-year plan is a SIP,
This is over a 10-year plan, yes.
and so we're what,
We're 6 months in.
6 months in?
Mhm.
So that's half, what, 5% of the way in?
Even the
Of
impact
our 10-year
fees
plan, so we're.
are not
over 100.
anticipated to collect that amount.
Never were.
They're-
Yes, they
they're-
never were.
They're 10% or less.
Right.
And, well, and sometimes you'll hear someone say, well, why even do it if you're not, it's still more than zero. That's what I'm saying.
But it's always been calculated to be less than 10%.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It was less than 10%, and that was if
Dustin
we
didn't
were,
know that.
and that was if we
Right,
were
yeah, that's what I was.
collecting the maximum assessable fee that we were allowed to. And since we reduced that and we're collecting less than that,
Right.
it would be less.
Curiosity, have y'all had any builders squawk and scream or anything like that about any of these things?
They've been really happy.
I'm just curious. I'm just-
Mike, the answer is yes. I mean, we've had the field calls and questions. I will tell you the one appeal that we had wasn't so much because of what it was categorized or the use or anything, is that the engineer who was helping that lady, not any engineer in the room today, failed to tell them about the impact fees. So when the owner got that, the owner was shocked because that's something that she did not budget.
Yeah. The better information we can get out there, the better off.
Yeah, I think, right, no surprises on the building permit is big. Okay, thank you. Discuss impact fee ordinance revisions, I guess we're at that point.
You missed number 6 for me.
I'm sorry, authorize, yes. Y'all need to authorize me to sign this to send to the council.
So moved.
Yes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa, if you'll,
And John,
Do
just
that.
as
Keep him
a
straight.
FYI on that item,
Tar.
I will provide this report to the council. There won't be any sort of official council item on this.
Okay.
It's just a report that goes to them.
okay.
John,
so-
once I get the minutes from this meeting, we'll draft a memo
Sign
like
all
we
that.
did for the other ones, and you'll just sign it, and we'll attach that to the front of this report, and Michael can submit it.
Perfect, okay. And it, like I say, it won't be an it'll just be.
No, just a report. I
Okay.
send reports to them all the time.
Right, okay, great. Next item, discuss impact fee ordinance revisions.
Yes, so most of those revisions you got, that were sent to you all in an email, they're all housekeeping items. We capitalized words, we removed some definitions that weren't even used throughout the ordinance. The only change is for the grace period, the way that we have it written right now is that the grace period runs for any building permit applications that are submitted. We are worried that someone may submit a building permit application September 8th of this year, and then for some reason it gets in the system and doesn't get issued until after September 9th of this year, and then they would be kicked out of the grace period. So we're changing the wording in the ordinance to be that the grace period runs for any properly submitted applications that are submitted to the city. That way, it's no longer pertinent on when the building permit is issued, but when the application is submitted to us. And so long as.
The building
That's only fair.
permit application.
Right, yes.
That's fair.
So, I mean, I think we're making it better for the developers, for the builders, as long as they
Yeah.
get their application to us in time, then even if it takes us a couple of days to issue the permit, they still fall within
Oh, you
that
know it's
grace
gonna take you a couple of days.
period. Oh, come on.
I've heard that.
But this way, we don't get blamed for
Right.
holding permits.
Exactly.
Right, yeah. I mean, because you would,
Yeah.
We would get.
yeah, you would get,
Yeah,
if
we
you
would,
didn't
yes.
turn them out.
Yes.
But that's only
Something.
for, again, a short period
Yeah,
of time.
a few
Till
days or
September the
weeks
8th.
or not, yeah.
September the 9th, it's over.
Okay,
But everything else in there is housekeeping and such. It won't change anything substantively wise.
everybody good with those deals? Do I have a motion to,
Oh, we don't need a motion.
we don't need it? All right. You're just gonna
That's a
send those,
discussion.
you're gonna send those to the council then to,
We'll present them to the council, and we'll let council know that we presented
They've
them to
adopt-
you guys, and
okay.
it was discussed, and
perfect,
no issues.
okay. Okay, are there any other questions or comments or concerns? Mike, Joe, I know y'all both been involved in some of this. Y'all got any more thoughts or concerns?
No,
No,
I
this,
mean, I'm sure you and Mike have heard a lot more about it than I have.
this has been very helpful for me to, you know, I'm not coming in here trying to stir the pot, it's just that everybody comes in and says, well, you know, we can't do this, can't do that, and, I mean, I need them to do that here, that's my livelihood also, you know, so, we all know that we need those things. And we need the situation to get this money to where we can continue other things, but at the same sense, we don't wanna push developments away.
That's what
We've
we
done that
really
in the
tried
past.
not to do, right, Mike?
That's correct, we've done that in the past, we don't wanna do that anymore.
And I think we're trying to do the same thing. We don't really want to talk them either. It's very important to us. But also, this first year, we're learning things as well, not that, you know, that don't want to, you know, I'm not saying we're completely letting things go, but we're learning a few of the things as well. Some of the things that we were interpreting were not exactly the same as they really are. I think we've seen that on recently.
Yeah.
But what we've talked about today, I think we're doing.
And you're gonna send us that Middle and
The
Odessa comparison.
Yeah, I think that will help give us any of the ammunition that we need on the things that
Without a doubt.
we're hearing.
Yeah,
I
without a
would
doubt, I
suggest that
mean,
if you get those, maybe even pull up Midlands and Odessa's at the same time, put in the exact same information
Yeah.
and show it to them.
One of the
if you
things
need an
I've been
example, you
hearing
can
is,
call me and I'll give you some people that I've talked to.
Okay.
And, so not all of them are in 3, some of them are gonna be over in probably. I don't have
One
what
is
it's called.
north of University.
What's that?
One is north of University.
There's some gonna be on, you know, over on the Andrews Highway side and things like that.
you know, one of the things that I'd heard and talking to some of the people in the community was the research that I did with it's just another tool for the city to be able to use to, you know, have an impact on, you know, the cost that goes to it. And once you explain it to them,
Right.
most people understand it. But what I like about it is the fact that it's a live tool. You know, the city is going to be able to make adjustments if they need to in the long run, right?
Right.
It's not just set right now and then we can't ever come back and revisit it again if.
No, we have to review these.
Yeah.
Statutorily, we have to review them every 5 years. So every
There you
5
go.
years, we'll go back and we'll look at our land use assumptions, we'll reevaluate our
Living
CIAC
doc.
projects.
Living document, there it is.
And this committee has to meet at least every 6 months, is that right?
Yes.
And then, so, also like part of what we've been looking at, you know, our ordinances do require developers to do certain participation, and so if they're already, you know, in order to work, road work improvements or whatever, and if that participation actually occurs on infrastructure that's called out in here, they have the eligibility for those offsets, so they can see that back into them.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, everybody
I'm-
good,
I'm-
happy?
Yeah,
Or
I'm better, way better.
way better, good.
Um,
Dr. Goetz, you have any comments or last thoughts?
No, good job.
I think it's good.
Yeah, I appreciate this. It's very,
This has been
very
very
helpful,
informative, thank y'all.
very informative. Hearing nothing else, we're adjourned.
Motion
Do I have to go back to work?
A motion to adjourn.
Motion second.
Will you call